And we're back. Hey, everybody, it's your host, Darren Carter, the party starter of the Pocket Party Podcast. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you've been listening and watching, thanks for coming back. Here's my special guest, Mr. Tim Gaither.
What's up, dude?
Dude, what's up? I can't see you.
Oh, it's
There must be something covering your camera. Oh, there you
yeah.
there you are.
I keep that covered up. I've heard horror stories.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
You never know who's watching.
That's funny. You know, it could be Santa Claus, right?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, for next year already, you think?
Yeah. He knows if you've been good or bad. That's good. You know, I read that. Well, maybe Apple's just saying this so they can spy on us, but they said that if it's Apple equipment, they're really good about it, and that people can't spy on you. But if it's like third party, like, you know, cameras and this and that, they say that. But, you know, maybe they're just saying that because they don't want you to have a third party camera. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, that would be my guess. I don't trust any of them.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, you're pretty smart about that. You know, it's like, why not? I mean, why not cover the camera with a little bit of, what do you use? A little bit of Scotch tape? Is that what that is?
Well, my wife does, but there was just something else. I don't even know what it was, like a receipt or something.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I think women tend to be a little bit more nervous about that, I guess, because, you know, guys tend to want to look at women and women don't really want to spy on guys, I guess. Like if I'm in a hotel room and I'm like 3 stories up, sometimes I'll just wear my boxers and, you know, I'm not like paranoid that someone's going to see, you know, my bare chest, right. You know, but, you know, women will be like, shut the curtain, block it, don't look, you know, they're just like, I'm like, no one's looking up here. It's like, you know.
I've heard horror stories about like the mirrors, like there being cameras and mirrors in hotels and all that.
Oh yeah, dude. I've definitely done that test where you put your finger up to it. And if it's like, if your finger goes like this to the mirror, then it's probably just a mirror. But if you're going like this and there's like why is it so, what's going on? My reflection, like maybe there's a camera on the other side. It's a one way, but you know, who's really spying on me at the Super 8 motel in, you know, Columbia, Missouri or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Dude, you look good, man. I don't think we've seen each other in probably over a year, unless I saw you beginning of this year.
I haven't been down to Hollywood since March, so
yeah,
probably right around then, I would imagine.
That's good, man. Some of my buddies I haven't seen, and they're like, yeah, I just decided to eat everything and drink everything since I don't have to drive anywhere, and I'm like, that's not good. And then they kick it in and realize, okay, this might last longer than 14 days to flatten the curve, you know. Yeah.
No, I've been trying to, you know, stay healthy and all that. I feel a lot, you know, the older I get, especially the better I feel when I exercise and don't eat like a dump truck and all that. So
yeah, you know, I used to be a wrestler. I know you're a huge wrestler and you love wrestling, you do a podcast, you interview wrestlers. How many years did you wrestle?
14 from the time I was 7 to the time I quit when I was 20. And I wrestled 2 years in college. I wish I would have just sucked it up and wrestled 2 more years. But I was really tired of cutting weight and all that. And, you know, it's pretty brutal, weight cutting.
Oh, yeah.
Especially back then, and like in the 90s, mid-90s when I was wrestling, we nowadays they have like different rules and you can't cut as much weight and all that stuff, which is good because back in my day, we had like 24-hour weigh-ins. So you could suck all this water weight off and just about kill yourself, but then you had 24 hours to put it back. And now they have like 2-hour weigh-ins, which means you have to wrestle like 2 hours after you make weight. And if you suck all that weight now, you'll just get your butt kicked because you don't have anything in you.
Yeah. That's funny. I literally, I shouldn't even call myself a wrestler because I only did it for like a year. Yeah. I did it 1 year. I did it in 8th grade. And then I joined in 9th grade, but then the 9th grade that I went to was only a freshman school. It was isolated, like no other grades. And we didn't really have a lot of members. Guys kept dropping off. And then it was down to like just 5 of us. And one day the coach came in and was like, guys, I hate to do this, but we gotta stop the program. And so, yeah, it was terrible. But one of the things I remember is they would say something to the effect of, this is the hardest thing you're going to do all day. And that would just keep us going, you know, like whatever that was. If it's, you know, jump squats or doing push-ups with the guy on your back and bridging, all that stuff, running, or, suicides or whatever. And, and it's kind of that kind of held over. Like whenever I do like a hard workout, I realize like that's probably the most difficult thing I'm going to do that day. And it kind of pushes you forward.
Yeah. You look good. You still been working out and all that?
Yeah, I put on a few pounds over Christmas. I'm not going to lie. I definitely had peanut brittle and, like a couple extra Christmas cookies, some apple pie, that kind of thing. I've been eating a lot of biscuits and gravy, or at least biscuits. And, but on top of that, I'm riding the bike. I'm exercising. And, yesterday I couldn't believe it. I actually had 2 salads. I had a salad at lunch and a salad at dinner. But,
nice.
I'm just trying to, I got on the scale and I was a little heavier than I anticipated. And I'm like, okay, let me just kind of keep an eye on it. But the exercise part for me is the easy part. The harder part is
eating right.
Eating right. Saying, yes, I would like a biscuit, but let's just keep it at 1 as opposed to like, I'll have 2. Okay, let me go get a 3rd one,
My wife's one of those people that can eat like 1 chocolate or like a bite of ice cream and be like, oh, I'm good. And I'm like, no, I either eat 1 bite or the whole pint. I don't do that. I'm not very good with the whole moderation thing. I either do it or I don't.
Yeah. What, do you still keep up like a wrestling type of workout these days? What do your exercise?
I do a lot of push-ups and pull-ups, and I run about once a week. I'll do this 4-mile run, and I've got this Aerodyne thing that somebody was throwing away. It's what an Aerodyne is?
Yeah, is that the one where it's like you pedal and you do this?
Yeah, I usually just do this part. I usually don't pedal, but because I do enough stuff with my legs that I don't bother. But somebody was throwing it away, so I was like, I drug that thing all the way home. I'm like, I don't know.
Wow, that's great.
Away.
Yeah, they had one of those at the boxing gym I used to go to. It was one of my favorite exercises. Like we would do it for time. They'd be like, see if you can do I forget how far it was. Was it a mile in 5 minutes or was it a mile in 3 minutes? I forget. Or 2 miles in 5 minutes. Whatever. They had like this thing that was your goal, was to jump on there and and man, I'd push myself to see how far I could go in a 10-minute sprint. And man, that's a great workout.
Yeah, it's really hard. Especially, but I don't sprint really anymore. I just do it for a while and I'll listen to something inspirational or, podcast or something and do it that way. But, it's, get a little sun, sit out there and get vitamin D and all that. And, a jump rope and that kind of crap. I don't lift a lot of weights. I'll lift some, but not a ton. I need to stretch. I need to start doing yoga or something. But every time I start doing yoga, I just get so like, I'm constantly looking up at the TV to see what the hell the guy's doing, and I just I can't get into it. It's just too I don't know. It's too slow, and I never know what the heck the guy's doing, and I just feel like an idiot the whole time I'm trying to do it.
Yeah, I know. My brother-in-law showed me this thing. He has a trainer, so I'm getting sometimes I'll get secondhand training. I'm like, what did you learn today? And he's like, the world's greatest stretch. I'm like, what's that? Then you put your palms down, and then you somehow reach back like this, and then you look back, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. But yeah, I do it the one day when I'm talking to him, and then I forget about it, and I go back to my normal,
Yeah,
that stretching thing. I talked about that with an MMA fighter a few weeks ago. We talked about how guys, we all have a back scratcher. And he said the reason is because we can't really fit that area. We're like, we're not very limber, but that back scratcher, yay!
Well, they say that's what keeps you young is stretching, above anything else. Like if a lot of people are like, oh, I'm getting older. I'm like, well, when's the last time you tried to touch your toes?
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Exactly. I always do some stretching, but I'm not like Mr. Limber or nothing. There's a fighter that I follow on social media. I forget his name right now, but he's really limber. He does things that you didn't even know a human being can do. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
And also he's an MMA guy. So he's like, this guy could kick your ass, but then he's also like doing the splits with one leg up on the ceiling and that kind of, you're like, dang, it's just incredible.
I'm not good about stretching. I do, but I'll work out for an hour and then I won't stretch for 5 minutes. And we got this furniture that I wish I have buyer's remorse every time I get in this chair because you can't just kick the feet up. you have to push a button and it's like, it takes forever to go up.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
sit there for a while, and then you go to get down, and if I haven't stretched good, then I feel like those dudes that, you know, those old movies where the guy's like riding the chair up the stairs, you know?
Yeah. 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 On the staircase where there's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Then I get out of that thing, and then I'm like hobbling across the it's pretty comical. I was trying to write a joke about it, but you know, some things are funny in your head, and then I'm sure I'll go to Kansas City and try to talk about it, and I'll just be stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, Tim is a great comedian. You guys go check out his YouTube channel, his podcast. Tim, I met you in Kansas City at Stanford and Sons. They're in the heyday of Stanford and Sons, in my opinion. I mean, I didn't know what it was like before I got there, but I still saw it in that downtown room when people could smoke indoors and they would be packed to the ceiling, and it was great, man. And you know, I loved it. You know, I did you grow up in Kansas City or in the suburbs or in a nearby town?
I was born in Arkansas. I lived there till I was about 4, and then we moved to Kansas. And you know, without getting into all of it, we got evicted a lot, and we moved around all around the Shawnee Overland Park area. It seemed like I went to a different school every year until high school. That's where I started comedy, and like you said, that was one of the best rooms. To this day, it's one of the best rooms I've ever been in. You know, I think I headlined that room like 2 years into comedy, and I wasn't a headliner by any means, but the room was just so good. You know, it was one of those rooms that if you didn't do well in there, you probably weren't very funny. You know, it was just that room. It had that black and white checkered stage, and like the room was, like the perfect dimensions, like the perfect amount of deep and wide, and I just
it's funny. I thought you were going to say they had a black and white audience, because they did, right? They did. And there's something about like, man, like if you get a crowd that's like black and white, like it just the energy, and it's freaking great, man. It's like, it's just awesome. It's unbelievable. I knew as soon as I touched down, you know, and I hit the stage, you know, it was so great, man. And I had a couple friends that live there. Shout out to Purvis Powell. Shout out to Big Fluff Nico Lantern. He's a rapper. And by the way, he changed his name. His real name is like Nicholas. But they, you know, they'd always take me around and show me stuff. And, you know, my first impression though of Kansas was as a kid. Like we used to, believe it or not, I don't think I ever told you this. We would drive truck camper pulling a trailer. Almost every summer, we drive from Fresno, California, all across America, down into Arkansas, visit my mom's aunt. We'd stay at a KOA campground, and then we'd go into Fort Scott at a KOA campground, and then we drive up, and there was this little tiny town, and it was near Kansas City, but it was far enough away where it was like gravel road, like small town, like really nothing there. And so that was my impression of Kansas. I mean, and also my grandmother's house she didn't even have indoor plumbing, I want to say, till like 1980. So as a really little kid, it was like, okay, you know, going from California to there. One time we went in the winter, I only did it once, but it was like snow and just cold. And then to go to the outhouse, you had to go outside, and it was crazy, dude. An outhouse, like it was definitely like living, like going back in time, you know.
That's a lot of people's idea of Kansas, because, you know, Western Kansas, there's nothing. It's just fields, and, you know, you'll drive for hours and not see anything. Jason Dixon used to have a joke. He goes, "You ever notice all these astronauts are from Kansas? That's because all these people, is, you know, if they grow up there, they want to get as far away from Kansas as possible."
Yeah. Hey, it's true, man. I listened to I think his name is Charlie. He was a Vietnam vet. He was a war hero, prisoner of war for 6 years. I listened to him on Jocko Willink's podcast, and he lived in a small little town in Kansas. And like you said, he wanted to get out, and he joined the Air Force. One thing led to it, or the Navy, I don't know, I forget, but one thing led to another. And then, you know, he's flying planes, and but that's really what Kansas was like for me. Like whenever I'd go back there, and in the 70s and in the 80s, up until, you know, it got a lot nicer. Like once they, you know, once you got the indoor plumbing and they added on to the house and everything. But it was I don't know, it takes me back because, and also, you know, growing up at that time, I mean, there wasn't as much supervision. So we used to carry like a dirt bike. We'd have a dirt bike that we would put on the back of the motorhome trailer. And
Yeah.
so when we get to Kansas, I got to be by myself and just explore those back roads, the gravel roads. And I remember listening to like Prince's Purple Rain soundtrack. And, you know, that song, Take Me. And I was like imagining like, I'm like Prince. I'm out here looking at, you know, like it was cool. You know, we'd go fishing. I remember there'd be floods out there, like when the big floods would hit and you'd see like these crawdads or whatever, these things would come up. And that was the first time I ever heard of a thing called chiggers, like those no-see-em bugs.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I mean, frogs, the whole thing. Like it was just, that was my experience. And so then when I went to Kansas City, I was like, wow, this is nothing like what I grew up with. Like this is like Beverly Hills meets Pasadena. I don't know what it is. It's like Kansas City is beautiful, man.
And it's really gotten nice too. Like they've redid their downtown, and it's, you know, it used to be just like this kind of a scary place to be, downtown Kansas City, and now it's beautiful. They've redone everything, and they've got the Power and Light District down there and all that stuff now, and pretty cool.
Yeah, where did I stay? Yeah.
2 weeks.
Oh, cool. Is that where where's the club at now? The one that you're doing? Where is it?
I want to say it's on 103rd and State Line. It's called the Comedy Club of Kansas City, and it's a great room. I just don't know how it'll be with all the COVID business. I don't know if you know, I know they'll probably have to do social distancing or whatever, but I don't know if people will be masked up like they were in Vegas, and that was really weird, you know, to have an audience that had masks on.
Did they all wear masks, or did some do it, some didn't? Like, what was that vibe like?
They all did. It was like a rule. You had to, unless you were taking a drink, you had to have your mask on. And so it was just, actually 6 of the 8 shows were really fun. And, you know, as long as they were laughing, it was fine. But if they weren't, like, you couldn't hardly see anyone in the audience. And it was just, they were like 25 feet away. So it was a little awkward, but like I said, for the most part, they were good. And the tickets are expensive. So I think for the most part, people wanted to have a good time, you know?
Yeah.
And I think most people know that it's kind of awkward too, you know, for the performer. Because it is. If they're not laughing and you can't even see them, it's just like death.
I did an outdoor show like up near Fresno. It was on a farm, and they sold limited tickets. They said, hey, it's you know, we're gonna sell X amount of tickets, and it was so cold. It was about 39 degrees that night that I actually didn't mind wearing my mask because it kept your face warm. You're like, okay, I got the mask on. And so I would take it off, you know, when I was on stage. But other than that, I'm like, even though we're outside, people are far away. It's like, I kind of would keep it on because I was cold, you know, and it was great though, because the people in the audience most of them didn't wear masks because we're outside, it's fresh air. And dude, it was great just to get like the laughs and that communal experience. Like it was like a little vacation from this COVID business, you know, it was really nice. Is that
the only show you've done since it all started?
I've done other shows, but they've all been like, you know, at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, like outside by the pool. That felt really good. I've done some parking lot shows where they're in their cars. That's a little strange, but at least they're there, you know. That's the ones that I've done early on, like back in April, back in March. I did a couple Zoom shows, like just like this, except it's stand up. That was where it was a little weird because, you know, there was like 5 people that I could see, and a couple of them were the other performers, and then one was a kid eating cereal. So like you're seeing his whole living room, and he's just like this, and it's just weird especially at that part of my set. I was talking about my wife and being married and having a 12-year-old or whatever. And he's just like, and I'm thinking, and in my mind, I'm like, why is this kid watching me? Like, he should be playing on TikTok or doing a video game. Like, this is not, you know. And then his mom was like looking over his shoulder, like, what you looking at? And she's watching me. And I'm like, yeah, so my wife, she's great in bed. She stays on her side. So my wife, we build that pillow wall. And I'm thinking, this is married material. This guy doesn't care about this. But that was the one that was weird, you know, to be honest with you.
How did you do?
Who knows? Like, I really don't even know. I just remember. I did my little time and I was like, thank you, good night. And then I shut my laptop and was like, damn, that was weird. And I just like, I think I went and took a shower or something. I was like, ugh, you know, yeah, that was but I think we need that because that was the bar that set the bar so low to where I was like, I don't want to do that. So after that, playing like when I was up in Ventura and I was in a parking lot and there was cars and people, there was about 25 people. That was great because it was a mixture, you know. I did another show, actually a corporate show. They flew me out to Denver and then it was actually almost to the Kansas border. And that was great. That was an indoor show. There were people laughing. It was, that was another one too, because you know how California is. I mean, this is, you know, every day you turn on the news, like it's spiking, it's spiking, it's spiking. And so you get kind of like, I'm sorry, but it's easy to be like, what's happening? You know? And then you go to another part of the country and the energy is just, it's definitely different than here. And so it was almost like a shock to my system. Cause I'm like, all right, you know, I'm going to do my show. And then, man, I didn't realize as soon as I showed up to the venue, like, you know, people wanted to like shake my hand. And I was like, oh, this is weird. I haven't done this in like 4 months. Like just having strangers go, hi, nice to meet you. How are you? And you're just like, you know, I didn't want to be the one guy that's like, oh, my elbow. So I basically decided I'm just going to shake hands and then I'm not going to touch my face. And then I'm going to discreetly go wash my hands. You know, I don't know. Like, how did you handle this?
I've done, I think I've done 4 or 5 weeks during this whole thing. And they've all been pretty good for the most part. And you're right. In some parts of the country, you wouldn't know there was anything going on, you know, as far as people being close to you and all that. And I'll be honest with you, I've found it really nice, you know, that aspect of it. Like I don't, without getting into, you know, COVID talk or, you know, any of that, I don't watch the news, and I will say that I flat out don't think it's what they're making it out to be. That's, you know, without getting too serious about it, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't watch the news though at all. I can't hardly stand to watch TV at all anymore. The only thing my wife and I watch is Walker, Texas Ranger to make fun of it.
Yeah. We were talking about that like off air, like, you know, this is, you know, back when, you know, over Christmas, last year, I actually watched from beginning to end, It's a Wonderful Life. And I'd never seen the whole movie. And it was great. It was so great just to be transported back to a different time and believe in humanity and the goodness in people. And this Christmas, from beginning to end, we watched A Christmas Story. Have you seen that, Christmas Story?
Yeah, we watch it every year. And, you know, I put this on Facebook the other day I think it was Christmas Day. I was like, I've seen this movie 100 times, but having a kid changes you, because this is the first time that I teared up when Ralphie got his BB gun, you know, because the dad is what got me, because he's like explaining to him how to put the BBs in and all that. And the look on the dad's face, it just got me. I mean, I'm like,
that's funny.
Yeah. So I love that freaking movie, and I love A Wonderful Life, and what a great message, you know, like, you know, you think certain aspects of your life didn't turn out the way you want, and sometimes you get in a mood about it. But if you step back and look at things, you're like, well, things are actually all right. And
yeah, I want to see it again, because I remember like just loving what you said when he touched the little knob on the staircase. At first it was kind of quirky, and then there's a point where he's angry. He's like, "Damn it, this stupid thing!" And then at the end, after he gets his life back, he's like, "Oh, I miss the little things in my life, like even this little quirky like doorknob thing that on the stairs, like, you know, it's true, right? Like sometimes we do have to step back." I think I read a quote, something like, "No man is a failure if he has friends."
That's from that movie.
You know? Yep.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's like, there's something about, you know, connecting with people, and, you know, that movie, man. And you know, what was funny for me is like back to A Christmas Story. I'd never seen it. I knew about the tongue on the pole. I knew certain scenes. You can't help but see those scenes, and, you know, you see it in memes and whatnot, but I thought it was hilarious. Like when the dogs ate his turkey, and then he was like, "That's it." And they went into the Chinese restaurant, and the waiters are singing Christmas carols with their accents. I thought that was hilarious. And
Yeah.
I don't know if they'd make that scene in 2020. You know?
I don't know either. They've gotten a lot more, politically correct or whatever. And that was my favorite thing about comedy, was like saying things that were completely off, and there was a time that audiences knew you were kidding, like if you made fun of a racist by acting racist, people knew you were kidding. And now they're like, oh my God. It's like, no, I'm kidding,
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, look, exactly. It's just like, I doubt that, Weird Al Yankovic could put on a fat suit and do, I'm fat. Like now it'd be like, whoa, you're fat shaming. It's like, guys, let's just have a laugh. Let's just, and listen, man, maybe there's something to fat shaming. I went to my brother-in-law's house, shout out to Rems. And I had on this very shirt, and it's kind of clingy, but around the belly was clinging a little too tight. And the first thing he says is, hey, how you, he says hi to my wife and says hi to my son. And the first thing he tells me is, he's like, you're getting fat. And I'm like, I just act like I didn't hear it. And then the next day my wife was like, did you hear what? And I'm like, yes, I heard him. I heard him,
Yeah.
But you need that every now and then. Hey, you're getting fat. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, being, wrestling as long as I did, I'm like super sensitive about that stuff. If somebody said that to me, I'd be like, it would be hard for me to ignore it, and it would bother me forever, so good for you that it doesn't bother you.
It bothered me enough to be like, okay, I need to like yesterday have 2 salads. I was like, I gotta chill. I was like, he's right. Actually, to be honest with you, here's what to be brutally honest with you, I stopped wearing this shirt for about 2 weeks. I was like, damn it, I'm not wearing that shirt again around Zimmer. No.
You know what keeps, if I start gaining weight, because I weigh myself almost every morning, it's almost like it's almost unhealthy. And whenever I start gaining weight, I just don't eat after dinner. Like I won't eat at night. I'll just make myself not do it. And if I get hungry, I just wait till it passes, because you get hunger pains, but if you just suck it up long enough, they go away, and then you're not hungry at all. And when I can do that, I drop weight pretty quickly.
It's weird how that works too. Yeah.
But if I eat, and it just depends on the person. If I eat late, then it doesn't take very long at all before I see it creeping back up and all that. And going back to, I wanted to say this about like A Wonderful Life. Like we all get caught up in what we should have done and what we could have done and whatever. But now that I have a 2-year-old, I try to always look at my life and be like, if I had done literally anything differently, even if my wife and I had had a child at a different time, he might not be the same boy, and I wouldn't trade him for anything. So when I can allow myself to look at it that way, then, whatever I should have done doesn't matter,
Yeah. How old is your boy now?
He is 2. And I almost wish he was in here so you could see him. He's something else, dude. He loves to be read to, and he's super active, and he can like already do a pull up, and he's just a little baby. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's got some athletic genes. Like I was a pretty good wrestler, and his mom was like a world-class badminton player, like for real, played in like world championships.
Wow.
And against all, she would have made the Olympic team in 2000 if she would have kept playing. And his grandpa rather, was an all-state football player in California, which is pretty hard to do. And his great-grandpa, who he was named after, was like a Golden Gloves boxer and played amateur or like minor league baseball and was a World War II pro. And yeah, so who knows? I'm not going to push him or anything. I'm just going to.
Have you ever played your wife badminton?
No.
Like, I wonder how that would go. Like,
not well for me.
How about tennis? Does it transfer over badminton to tennis, I wonder?
I don't know. I can't remember why she told me that she never really got into tennis. Badminton is the fastest racket sport there is. And you run like the course of you run like 2 miles, and it's super fast. And I don't think I'd be good at it. I tried tennis a few times when I was a kid, and it was, like my brother and I, it would, every summer they would have Wimbledon, and we would watch it on HBO. And we get all fired up, and we'd go out there and play tennis. And, I'd be one guy and he'd be the other. And he would always kick my butt. He was always better than me before, but yeah.
That's funny. Okay, here's what I want. We were talking about the song. I know Christmas is over, but still, A White Christmas. And you said you and your wife watched that movie.
Yeah, my wife has a like a tradition. She likes to watch it every year, and she prefers to watch it with me. But like if I'm gone or something, she'll always watch it. And that's a good movie too. I'm not really into musicals, but you know, if you allow yourself to just enjoy it, it's good. And I pointed something out to her the other day that she was like, I've been watching this since I was a kid and I never noticed that. But one of the girls in the movie, one of the dancers has these like falsies in, like false boobs. And like one of them is totally cockeyed. I'm like, how did they not miss that? You know, like, I mean, it's so obvious. It's like one's up here and one's down here. And I was like, her boobs are going the wrong way. And she's like, I never noticed that.
Yeah. So you guys are watching the movie for different meanings.
Well, you know, I'm just trying to get through it. And like I said, I'm not really into musicals, but that particular scene, I was, you know, and I did, like I said, I enjoyed it the other night. I enjoyed it more than I ever have. Usually I just do it for her, but the other night I allowed myself to get into the Christmas spirit enough to enjoy it and enjoy it and think about, it was a simpler time, you know, like sometimes I feel like the old guy because I'm like, man, I would do anything to go back to then where we didn't have cell phones and there's something too about like being able to or having to wait for a movie to come out or whatever. Now you're just like, you want to see that? It's right here, you know, and it's right there. And there's no waiting for anything anymore. I think that's why people have such anxiety problems. They're like, kids grow up these days and they're like, you can do anything you want. And they're like, but I only got one life, you know? So I think it causes anxiety in people.
Yeah, like I had a friend came over when I was a kid and we were about 10 years old. And I remember he asked my mom, he goes, can we watch Happy Days? And it was so funny because it's like, dude, you can't just watch Happy Days. You got to wait till 10:30 in the morning, you know, like it's like in the summertime, it played every day on channel 26 at 10:30. But now that's not a ridiculous thing. If you want to watch something, just go over to YouTube or wherever you're going to Netflix or something. And it's probably going to be on there. Yeah.
And there's something, you know, like, every now and again, I'll even watch a movie with commercials just because it like makes me feel like a kid again. You know, obviously I hate commercials, but there's just something about that. And sometimes I do. I wish we could just throw all these damn cell phones and everything else away. The only thing I would never trade is GPS because I can't find anything, dude. I'm the worst. I don't know how anyone got anywhere. I don't know how people navigated like landing at an airport, you know, because you just text whoever your ride is or whatever. You're like, I landed or whatever. Like, how did you do that once upon a time? Like, I guess, you know, you figured it out, but, or people would have to come and wait.
Even this technology, I heard that I listened to this podcast and they were saying that even this kind of technology to do podcasts like via, like they didn't have the technology to do it like for the common people like 10 years ago. Like now we can I can be like, hey, Tim, you want to do my podcast? And then we can just do it via Zoom and boom, here we go. You know, it's pretty cool. I do like that aspect of it, that we can get our message out there. We can put our entertainment out there. And I'm always trying to improve it with if it's a new mic or new lighting or, you know, whatever. I do embrace that part and learning how to edit. I remember you were doing prank phone calls or you were doing pranks on your YouTube channel and that's those are fun, right? Like just to get out of your comfort zone and try something crazy.
Well, yeah, I like doing those. I haven't done one in a while, but you know, you can't really prank people anymore. Like I tried to do that recently, like call a ding. And they've got your number right there. They'll call you back and be like, "Did you just prank us?" You know, and like,
yeah. I think you have to press like you got to Google this, but I think you got to press like *67 or *71. It's one of those, and I guess it hides your number. I'm not sure, so don't quote me. Just Google it first, because if you do the wrong one, you might be forwarding your phone number to someone. So don't do the wrong one.
But then it just says this call is blocked, and then no one.
Like, and no one's answering.
You know. So. Yeah, but I miss prank calls. That was great. My mom used to let us prank call people all the time. We'd call like Chinese restaurants, you know, and be like, "Is this a fortune cookie palace?" And you know, just stuff.
Yeah,
it's hilarious. There's nothing more fun than doing a prank call that works.
Oh yeah, dude. I used to take it a step further. I'd get on my dad's CB radio, And we had a big antenna on top of the house, and I'd be like, breaker 19, breaker 19. We got any truckers out there? I'm a truck driver my damn self. But I'm like 14 years old. And I remember that one time this guy goes, you're a trucker? What are you hauling? I'm like, oh, I got about 400 head of cattle in the back of my truck.
400.
Yeah. And he's like, you got 400. Yeah. They started laughing. I was like, I meant 40. And they were like, okay, kid, like yeah. And I would try to pretend that I was some crazy doctor. I'd be like, I am Dr. Van Diefen Dorken, but you may call me Dr. Dork. What is your problem? And then they would, whatever they'd say, like, I'm looking for a lot lizard. I don't know what a lot lizard is, but I'll get back to you. Come to find out, that's what they call prostitutes at the truck stops. They call them lot lizards. So okay. There you go. Kind of like a lounge lizard, except parking lot lizard. But
yeah, I got you.
Hey, we were talking about White Christmas, and I wanted to share this. The true story behind this song, White Christmas, is even sadder than its lyrics. America's favorite Christmas song actually has a pretty dark backstory. With 50 million copies sold, not only is Bing Crosby's White Christmas the best-selling Christmas song of all time, it's also the best-selling single ever, according to Guinness World Records. It first aired during the Kraft Music Hall radio show, yes, sponsored by the food company, on December 25th, 1941. Then host Bing Crosby crooned the carol, which is soulful, longing, and sad anyway, but especially so at the time. Pearl Harbor had been attacked just a few weeks before. It turns out the song has a sad backstory too. It was written by Irving Berlin, the same composer who wrote God Bless America and many more classics. Irving Berlin was a Russian-born immigrant who, interestingly enough, did not celebrate Christmas as he was Jewish. And here's Irving. For those of you watching on YouTube, here's Irving Berlin. This is what the man looked like right there, Irving Berlin.
Hi, Irving.
All right. Listen to this, Tim. This is a little sad. Here we go. Berlin's 3-week-old son had died on Christmas Day in 1928. So every year on December 25th, he and his wife visited their baby's grave. The author, the kind of deep secret of the song, maybe it was Berlin responding in some way to his melancholy about his son, the death of his son. Melancholy about the death of his son. He wrote White Christmas for a musical that eventually morphed into the movie Holiday Inn and ended up winning an Academy Award for the song. In 1954, it was the title track of another Bing Crosby Christmas musical, White Christmas. Bing says, I hesitated about doing it because invariably it caused such a nostalgic yearning among the men that it made them sad. Heaven knows it didn't come that far to make them sad. For this reason, several times I tried to cut it out of the show, but these guys just hollered for it and requested it. Clearly, they identified with the wistful lyrics about holidays at home. Since then, White Christmas has been covered by everyone from Elvis to Karen Carpenter to Lady Gaga. Interesting.
Huh. Yeah, I think I remember something about that in the movie. I don't know. I can't speak intelligently about it, but I remember something about that. Like he didn't like singing something, but they just begged for it, whatever it was. Maybe that's what he was talking about.
Okay, let's get on to a lighter mood, and then we'll wrap up the show. So, Tim, let me ask you, these are all questions about happiness. What is, there's no right or wrong answer, just the first thing that comes to mind. What is the last thing that you bought that made you happy?
For myself?
Could be anything.
I bought my wife for Christmas a new iPad. That made me happy because it made her happy. And you know, it's not something I bought. Well, I did buy it, but last night I put together a toy for my son, and I am not good at putting things together, or you know. And my wife's like, "Daddy will put it together for you." And in my head, I'm like, I don't know how to put things together, but I did it, and I was so proud of it. And you know, it's just a stupid little basketball goal thing with a soccer, you know, but I put it all together by myself, and I felt like such a man when I was done, like, oh, here you go, son. I was also determined to do it, you know, like my dad was really good at putting stuff together, and it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that big of a deal. But in my head, I was like, not nervous about it, but I was like, my son's going to think I'm a freaking idiot. But we bought that for him and put it together. So probably that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What is the last thing that you either discovered or rediscovered that made you happy? Either something you rediscovered or something you discovered.
Probably those old Christmas movies. They take on a new meaning once you have a child, and all that stuff that you hear about kids, all those cliches. Then you have a kid, and you're like, oh, I get it. Like getting teared up at the freaking Christmas Story. That's never been anything but a comedy to me. But the other day, I was like, seeing that the look on that dad's face. That
I know. You know what's funny that I remember watching I think it was an Eddie Murphy movie. It might be Norbit.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say I got teary-eyed, but I used to just think it was funny, that he's getting, slapped around and pushed around by this big fat wife. But I don't know. We tried watching it recently, and I kind of felt bad for the guy, man. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just being a father. You're like, man, that's somebody's son. Like, that sucks. Like, how you doing? Remember that character? How you doing? And just, I'm sorry, Respucia. I'm sorry. I don't know. For some reason, I just looked at that guy like, gosh, that sucks. Like I don't know. You just want your kid to like grow up and be healthy and normal and
nice to people.
Nice to people. And that's what, what is something you've eaten recently that's made you happy? Not just a normal something, not just a regular meal to sustain life, but we're talking something that you ate and you're like, wow, that actually makes me happy.
Yeah. Probably pecan pie on Christmas. My wife made one, and gosh, is there anything better than pecan pie? Like, I don't eat a lot of sugar because, not that I don't like it, I love it. Like, my mother-in-law is always trying to push it on me, like, here, and I'm like, it's not that I don't like it, it makes me feel like crap. But that pecan pie, I was like, that is so freaking good. I went back and got she makes them, they're like these little, they're like that big around, they're not big. And I went and got 2 of them, and I hardly ever do that. Usually I just won't touch it at all because I know how I am. But it was Christmas, and I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to eat it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, Tim, we're running out of time. I'll let you get on with your night and your beautiful boy and your lovely wife. In closing, do you have any words of wisdom, something that you'd like to kind of share with our listeners and viewers? Any words of wisdom?
What I've been doing a lot more lately, like I've always believed in God, but I've been praying a lot more, and man, it helps. Like if you're in a funk, if you're mad, if you're anything, if you're, anxious, anything that's bothering you, if you pray about it, at least me, it helps. So that would be some words of wisdom I would give. Even if somebody doesn't, you don't have to be religious or any of that stuff to pray. You just find a quiet place and you just talk to God. And a lot of people, that's not very popular anymore to talk about that kind of thing, but it really makes me feel better. And I've been doing a lot more. And I would recommend that to anybody.
It's funny you say that. I've been listening to a lot of like gospel music that I grew up with, in the church, usually sung by celebrities. Cause back when I was a kid, we were just singing it in church off key, and the women would sing like this and the men would sing like this. And it wasn't very good. It was just like, you know what I mean? Like, do Lord, oh do remember me. Oh Lordy, do Lord, oh do Lord. It was just, like that. But I've been listening to like the Oak Ridge Boys, the Statler Brothers, Elvis Presley, singing "How Great Thou Art," Johnny Cash, like singing. I mean, these, there's so many. It's just beautiful voices singing these, old timey gospel hymns. And you're right; it really does give you like hope, inspiration, and makes you feel good. It really does feel like, Yeah,
I think it's I think it's a shame that so often people, the one thing that turns people away from God or trying to even get to know God is religion. It's a shame that that's what people think of God as being is like, I'm not very religious. Like I was telling a friend of mine who's going through a divorce, I'm like, talk to God, man, it helps. And he's like, I've never been very religious. And I'm like, it's really not about that. I have this theory that we're all tiny extensions of God. And when you tap into that and you allow yourself to, it can be very powerful. So, that's hokey to some people these days, but it really is a great thing if you allow yourself to do it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Tim, thank you so much for being a part of the Pocket Party podcast. And thank you.
You bet. Let me know when it's up and I'll share it and all that business.
You got it, man. All right.
Give your family my best.
You got it. Thank you. See ya.
Take care.
Pocket Party.